Good morning, everyone. It's Monday, November 9th. Coming to you live from Seoul, I'm Kim Dami, filling in for Kim Mo-gyun. Before we get started, these are the stories following at the top of the hour. The United States will welcome its new President Joe Biden next January. As promised during his campaign, Biden's top priority as a new leader will be tackling the COVID-19 pandemic. Yet another grim COVID-19 milestone. Global virus infections have now topped 50 million, with the U.S. and India leading the tally. Samsung Electronics Vice Chairman Jae-yong will be attending the trial hearing on his bribery scandal involving South Korea's former president Park Geun-hye. This is his first return to court in almost a year, and also the first public appearance since his father's funeral last month. Barring a successful legal challenge from President Trump, the U.S. will have a new president. It's expected that Joe Biden's biggest task will be the COVID-19 pandemic. Our Lee Seung-jae has more.
Days after the polls closed, Democrat candidate Joe Biden took some major battleground states last minute to win the election. The soon-to-be 46th President of the United States will be sworn in on January 20th, 2021. But what are the major challenges facing him when he assumes office?
I will spare no effort, none, or any commitment to turn around this pandemic.
As promised during his campaign, Biden revealed plans to name a group of leading scientists and experts as transition advisors to help formulate a blueprint to tackle the COVID-19 pandemic. Biden says the plan will be built on bedrock science, as he promised to spare no effort to turn the pandemic around.
On Monday, I will name a group of leading scientists and experts as transition advisors to help take the Biden-Harris COVID plan and convert it into an action blueprint that will start on January the 20th, 2021.
Biden's aides are planning their first critical transition decision to focus on the pandemic, as they have so far assembled an internal group of roughly 24 health policy and technology experts. The committee will look at the development and delivery of a vaccine, improving health data, securing supply chains, among other key issues. Watchers say Biden's blueprint is clearly different from that of Trump, who often refused to take the advice of scientists and experts, including Dr. Anthony Fauci, the head of the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases. The U.S. has seen 3 straight days of 100,000 single-day cases, with more than 126,000 cases reported last Friday, the highest one-day tally yet. With over 10 million infections and 243,000 deaths, it'll soon be up to Biden to take on the task of containing the virus. Lee Seung-jae, Arirang News.
Seoul's Foreign Minister Kang Kyung-hwa is in the U.S. for a 4-day visit. She'll sit down with her American counterpart to discuss the denuclearization of the Korean Peninsula and ways to strengthen the South Korea-U.S. alliance. Kang also plans to meet with lawmakers and people from academic circles, which observers predict could include those close to President-elect Joe Biden. Speaking at the Korean War Veterans Memorial in Washington, Kang noted that Washington's approach toward Pyongyang is unlikely to return to Obama administration's so-called strategic patience policy under Biden. Biden's leadership is going to affect the Korean Peninsula, especially on issues regarding the denuclearization of North Korea and the South Korea-U.S. military alliance. It could also have an effect on U.S.-China tensions. Our foreign affairs correspondent Yoon Jung-min reports.
With Joe Biden now expected to serve 4 years as President of the United States, his administration could change Washington's approach to the denuclearization talks with Pyongyang.
The Trump administration favors a top-down approach, including summits with Kim Jong-un, but a Biden administration would favor a bottom-up approach. Biden's approach could cause a backlash from North Korea, however, which wants sanctions to be lifted faster through summits.
The expert added that there is a possibility that Pyongyang could express its dissatisfaction through military provocations, such as tests of ICBMs, should the denuclearization talks not be a pressing concern of Biden's because of the pandemic situation in the U.S. On South Korea's alliance with the U.S., experts see Biden as taking a more conventional approach to the negotiations on defense cost sharing and maintaining American troop levels in South Korea.
By that, we mean an approach that was very similar to how the relationship has been before Donald Trump. So all these outstanding bilateral alliance-related issues are going to be handled very methodically and carefully. And it's not going to be as forceful as it's been over the last 4 years.
When it comes to transferring wartime operational control from Washington to Seoul, there might still be stringent conditions in terms of South Korea's readiness.
There wouldn't be a great difference on that issue whether it be Trump or Biden. It's conditions-based. Seoul and Washington were supposed to verify the full operational capability this August, but couldn't do enough due to COVID-19. So it's inevitable that the schedule is delayed.
Also, South Korea could be asked to make its stance clearer when it comes to the U.S.-China tensions. Experts say Biden could look for an opportunity for cooperation with Beijing, but ultimately he sees China as a competitor, and so do other U.S. politicians.
This China issue is a bipartisan issue in the U.S. Congress. What that means is no matter who takes office or majority in either the House or the Senate, they're going to have legislations that are very similar that is going to be pressuring China on many fronts.
The expert added that Biden's approach to China would largely depend on his new foreign policy team and on how China handles the issues of Hong Kong, Taiwan, and Xinjiang. Yoon Jung-min, Arirang News.
South Korea saw new COVID-19 cases in triple digits for the second straight day on Monday. The country recorded 126 new cases, of which 99 were local transmissions. Most of the new infections are from places that are vulnerable to the virus, like senior centers, and cluster infections that continue to emerge from small gatherings. With 2 more new deaths, the death toll now stands at 480. Global COVID-19 infections have surpassed 50 million as of Sunday, as cases in the U.S. and Europe continue to soar amid the second wave of the pandemic. Our Chae Min-jung has the details.
Worldwide COVID-19 cases passed a grim milestone on Sunday, with more than 50 million infections reported since the pandemic began. It only took 21 days for the global tally to pass 50 million after it exceeded the 40 million mark mid-October. In addition, according to the latest data from Johns Hopkins University, the global death tally topped 1.2 million, just around 300 days after the virus first emerged from China. The record high number comes amid the second wave of COVID-19, which continues to strike the U.S. and Europe. The U.S., the country with the most confirmed cases and deaths in the world, hit almost 10 million cases and more than 230,000 deaths as of Sunday, according to the Johns Hopkins University tally. These record-breaking figures come after the country reported over 126,000 new cases the day before, marking the highest daily number since the outbreak of the pandemic. This was the 4th day that week for daily cases to surpass the 100,000 mark. Europe has also contributed to the rise in worldwide infections. According to Reuters, there have been nearly 12 million confirmed cases, and the continent accounts for 24% of total COVID-19 deaths worldwide. Over in France, deaths surpassed 40,000 as of Saturday, with a total of 1.7 million confirmed cases. The milestone comes after the country registered new daily records, with over 60,000 counted last Friday alone. Russia also hit their highest daily tally on the same day at over 20,000. Over in Italy, daily COVID-19 infections hit record high numbers on Saturday with almost 40,000 new cases. Chae Min-jung, Arirang News.
Tensions have been simmering in Thailand since July, with thousands of anti-government protesters asking for reform of the monarchy. The latest demonstration on Sunday sparked an aggressive crackdown. Our Lee Kyung-eun has the details.
Reform or revolution? Calls for greater democracy continue in Thailand despite stronger suppression. On Sunday, protesters marched towards the Royal Palace in Bangkok to hand-deliver letters requesting the reform of the country's powerful monarchy. Police set up blockades, but demonstrators moved buses and took down the barbed wire blocking their way. Police fired water cannons. However, demonstrators marched on, wearing goggles and protective hats.
It's not right to use water cannon with protesters who have a different stand and political views.
Just a few dozen meters from the palace, stopped by police lines, protesters read a statement. It does not matter whether the people love the king or not, he must love them all the same. It's a reference to the king's remarks from last week. We love them all the same. Thailand is the land of compromise, with reporters asking for his response to the protests.
If the king wants to listen to the people, then he should read the letter, so he realizes that there are problems. Otherwise, the conflicts will get worse.
From Sunday's confrontation, at least one police officer and 4 protesters were injured. It was the second time police used water cannons to suppress largely peaceful protests. The Royal Palace did not make any official comment, as it hasn't since the start of the movement. Since July, protesters have been calling for constitutional reform and removal of the military government, with their anger also turning to the king, who has great influence over these. Young-eun, Arirang News.
With judicial deliberations on a bribery case involving Samsung Group heir Lee Jae-yong resumed, Lee is expected to make his first public appearance on Monday since his father's funeral to attend the retrial. Our Kim Yo-san reports.
Samsung Electronics Vice Chairman Lee Jae-yong is set to attend the trial hearing on his bribery scandal involving former South Korean President Park Geun-hye in the coming hours. This is his first return to court since January and the first time Lee is appearing in public after the sudden passing of his father Lee Gun-hee late last month. The process came to a halt with Samsung Group's establishment of an independent law compliance oversight committee in February to monitor whether the group's corporate actions comply with laws and ethics. It was created following the appellate court in Lee's bribery case ordered him to devise measures to prevent company wrongdoings. Monday's retrial will appoint 3 people to review and evaluate the activities carried out by the committee, requiring them to submit their opinion to the court by end of this month. The court is then expected to consider the results in their final verdict on the reduction of Lee's sentence, as insisted by Samsung Group. The verdict could be provided before the end of this year, which could once again put Samsung in a leadership absence. Kim Yo-san, Arirang News.
Good morning. It's a shivering late autumn morning we are having today with cold wave advisories in place for parts of Gyeonggi-do, Gangwon-do, and Gyeongsang-Bukdo provinces. Dress warmly. It's going to be chilly throughout the day. Cold weather will persist through the first half of the week. Then readings will return to being more late autumn-like again by Wednesday afternoon. Meanwhile, dry and sunny weather conditions will stay with us. In fact, dry weather alerts are in place in eastern regions, including Daegu and Busan, while a dry warning is in place across Gangwon-do province. And it is very likely dry weather alerts will expand to more parts of the country. This afternoon, though, highs will climb to the low teens and lots of sun will shine down on us with good air quality nationwide. That's Korea for you, and here's a look at the weather conditions around the world.
That's all we have at this hour, but we'll be back with a later newscast at 12 p.m. Korea time. Until then, goodbye.
Korea's COVID-19 quarantine model showed the world how to do things right. From diagnostic kits to drive-through screening centers. Lauded by the foreign press,